All right, amazing. Well, welcome back, everybody, to another great episode of the Millennium Live Podcast. I'm your host, Connor Toohey, and today we continue a great series with our partners, and we have a retail-focused episode today, and a guest who has joined me in the past, and I'm so excited to have her on again because we're talking retail resilience, why process, attribution, and AI are the new power trio. And I'm so excited to have Anya Dillard. She is the retail practice lead over at Stebo Systems. Anya, it's a pleasure to have you back. You're a wonderful person and a great leader in this space. And it's a pleasure to talk to you as always.
Yeah, it's always a joy to spend time with you on your podcast. I know last time we said we were going to have to do it again, and here you made it happen. So I'm excited to be here.
Yes, and I'm glad because last time we spoke, Anya, we had explored the transformative impact of digital transformation and how it's redefining retail operations and customer experiences, and we dove into things like omni-channel and consumer
Mhm.
behavior. We touched upon AI, which
Mhm.
obviously we're going to be digging even deeper into that. So I think today's episode is going to be good, a crucial and critical time to be talking about the retail operations, product data, and AI combination, and really unpack optimizing business processes and improving product attributions for compliance, and
Mhm.
again using and leveraging AI for smarter conversations that of course are shaping the future of retail. So for those in our audience, you're a leader, you attend Millennium Alliance events. You lead the tech, merchandising, or strategy at your respective organizations. This conversation is going to be crucial to listen to, and I'm excited to jump in with Anya. So, Anya, if you're ready, we'll what do you say? We'll dive into some key topics.
Let's get it.
Amazing. All right, let's start with business process optimization because I think that's a good way to start.
Mhm.
And this area has a lot of inefficiencies, I should say, things that we discuss at the assembly and whatnot. So, would love to get your take on what you're seeing in the industry here about some of the biggest inefficiencies that retailers currently operate, and what's the hidden cost of not addressing these pain points.
Oh, one of my favorites. Where do I begin? So, one of the biggest inefficiencies I see, especially in established retailers, is the Frankenstein process syndrome. Where one team does it this way, another team does it another way, but yet Excel is somehow still the MVP, which is worse, right? They think it's working because you hear the famous phrase, well, we've always done it this way. When you consider the hidden cost, it's time, it's trust, it's turnover. And if your merchants are spending 25% of their week chasing down item data or reconciling SKU errors, every lost hour adds friction. And that friction slows your entire operation down. If you're unable to swivel like immediately, then you're already behind.
So I love discussing some examples, and I want to dive into one because you talk to customers all the time, and would love to know an example if you can, one that pops to mind where optimizing a product or supplier process really created measurable impact and value for a retailer.
Yeah, absolutely. So, working with a home improvement retailer, where over half of their product setup forms for a specific category were getting kicked back because of a simple attribute, right? Wood type. Was it oak, pine, engineered wood, reclaimed, or maybe the finish, right? Was it natural, stain, distressed? Every supplier had their own way of naming things. And then every merchant had their own interpretation. So we cleaned up that by standardizing the attribute list, right? Defining acceptable values and adding automated validations, right? The results, you reduce manual data corrections by 75%.
Mm.
And then you cut the end-to-end setup process by 14 days, right? Now, if you think about that across an entire merchandising organization and you start one category at a time, think of the impact, right? So now teams aren't just wasting time trying to play detective. Where do I get this information from? They're actually focusing on, getting products to market faster.
Excellent. Great points, Anya. And I want to jump into to the second point we in the introduction here, which is product attribution and compliance. And when it comes to product attribution, I don't think it's always front and center in retail strategy, as you well know. Why should it be?
I'd say product attribution is the quiet champion of retail. I've often said that it's not a nice to have, it's become your greatest asset, right? It doesn't wear a cape, but it's what holds your entire strategy together. So if you think about it, how do customers filter? How do they do searches or even compare products? Attributes, right? How does your AI model know the recommendations to offer? It's all on it based on attributes. How do you meet compliance requirements or power sustainability reporting? Still attributes. So if your attribution is just a mess, then your customer experience is definitely going to be muddled and the back offices are going to be scrambling. So it has to be as foundational as your storefront footprint, right? Or even your digital experience. Because we always say garbage in, garbage out. But if you do not have a clear way of ensuring that your data is accurate, then you're already setting yourself up.
Yeah, and as important as attribution is, what's the even bigger issues that retailers face when not addressing it, and how poor attribution can create these ripple effects, especially when it comes to things like regulations or tariffs, which we're seeing a lot this year, or even ESG reporting.
Yeah. So think about a ripple that quietly turns into a tsunami, right? I've seen retailers get blindsided by unexpected tariffs, not because their product, was not classified properly, but because country of origin, the data was inconsistent across systems, two different countries. And guess what? Customs will flag it. And then the fines begin to roll in. So then there's ESG. It's not enough to say a product is sustainable. Now you have to be able to prove it, right? And you have to be able to ensure that it's clean data and it's traceable data. So now we've got Gen Zs that are holding brands more accountable than we have ever before. So if, for example, say it's cotton, is it truly organic? Is it your packaging? Is it recyclable, or even can the data back up your claims, right? Facing compliance risks become a big issue for you. And then you begin to jeopardize the trust and loyalty of your most value driven customers. So poor attribution will for sure slow your business down, making you more vulnerable financially, legally, as well as publicly. And once your reputation begins to decline there, it's harder to get back that customer, loyalty, because, they're your biggest marketers and promoters. And if something's not right, they're going to hit social media and everywhere else to let others know about it.
Yes, and we all know word spreads quickly nowadays.
It sure does.
So, I'm an executive of a retail brand, and
Mhm.
I'm curious because my attribution is not great. What's one step that retailers can do to start cleaning up their attribution data and or governing their attribution data this year?
I'd say start small, right? Pick one high volume category and standardize maybe 5 to 8 core attributes that are most impactful. Get your suppliers involved, set up validation rules, and get feedback from your merchandising team. But here's the trick: don't do it in a vacuum. Don't look at it as it's a data project. You have to look at it as a business transformation. And you have to involve the people who actually use the data rather than the ones that simply manage it. This way, you are now building a, cohesive team that is on the same page with consistent data, especially when it impacts their area, for you to be able to implement a governing process that the attributes that you need to ensure are touched by the right people, by the right team. You know, it's not, well, because I don't own it, I don't need to touch it, but I'm going to use it. So it's bringing it all together. So it's simplified and it just builds collaboration for one, but two, now you have the ability to ensure nothing's going in if I'm not the person that owns it, right? Because when things go south, everybody wants to own the data, but everybody wants to touch the data, but nobody wants to own the responsibility or risk behind it.
Exactly, Anya. I think it's a good time to talk about AI because we talked a little bit about it on the show last time we met back in, I think it was probably the summer of last year, if I'm correct. And we talked about AI and sort of how it related to the future of retail, and it wasn't going to be just a trend anymore, but a vital component of long-term success. And what we're seeing right now in AI is that retailers are racing to implement AI strategies. But what do you see as the role for AI, and what role does foundational product data play, and how effective your AI strategy is going to be?
So foundational data, that's your fuel. And AI it's the engine. You can have the most sophisticated AI model on earth, but if it's being fed inconsistent, outdated, or incomplete product data, it's like pouring soda in a gas tank, right? I've always said AI doesn't fix bad data, it amplifies it. So if your size charts or ingredients or tags are wrong or missing, AI is going to learn from that. And it's just going to continue to serve up bad recommendations even faster, right? So the thing you have to remember, AI learns behaviors and stores them in a memory bank. So if you're feeding it flawed data, you're teaching it the wrong patterns, right? Then it becomes cemented in your algorithms, your search, or anything that you're expecting AI to push out. That you end up spending more time going back and unteach what it's already learned, which is twice the work, right? So before you leap into AI, make sure your foundational data is clean. Otherwise, you're just, building that smarter version of the same problem that you've always had. Without it, I mean, it just becomes more AI is working for me, but it's only delivering the bad data stuff, right? You then end up as a consumer, I'm searching for a black dress and I end up getting, a black gown. Well, a black gown is different than a black dress. Even though they're both black, they're very different. So now my box is going to get, inundated with recommendations of a gown. That's not what I need, right? So you just have to ensure that foundational data is on point. If not, you just run the risk of teaching it behaviors and things that you don't want to deliver to your consumers.
Excellent. Really great points there, Anya. I think, when it comes to AI, last we were talking a lot about, specifically in supply chain, how it plays a role in demand forecasting and supply chain management. And, there's some really interesting ways that I was just on a podcast talking about personalized experiences, how AI is really transforming that area. So curious, getting your take of some ways, some practical ways retailers are using AI today to boost product discovery or get that conversion over gain customers and convert them into being loyal buyers.
Yeah, there's some really smart use cases that are happening right now. Dynamic search and filter optimization is one of them. So using AI to personalize what attributes are most relevant to a specific shopper, kind of, what we just talked about. And visual AI, right? See it, find it. That's shopping based on uploaded images. My personal favorite is AI helping retailers to auto-generate missing attributes using, NLP, well, natural language processing and image recognition. Like auto tagging product descriptions is something that's really, really big. Powering chat box, sentiment analysis, and that's on reviews, or social media, which seems to be the in thing now. And then voice search optimization, right? That's like interpreting, as I mentioned earlier, a black dress for a date night versus a black dress for a wedding, right? And kind of showing you the results from there. So what used to be, or sound futuristic is not anymore. It's totally operational, and it's what's driving serious business value and decisions today, right? So when you think of practical is not just, oh, well, we've got an AI, we can throw it in and it's going to do what we need it to do. No, it means that now we can get it to automate all these things, but how do we make sure that it's delivering the right information? Again, it goes back to data, right? We say data is the cause of it all, that's your root right there.
I love that. That's a little soundbite too for this podcast episode. But again, sort of like the last couple points that you made, Anya. Again, retailer just could be starting this AI journey. Would love to know where to begin if they're not sure where, especially as you mentioned, if their data isn't in the perfect shape.
Start with a structure, right? You have to build a data governance foundation before you build that AI model, right? Think of it like renovating a house. You wouldn't want to start, furniture shopping if your flooring is unfinished. Like you're sitting a sofa on an unfinished floor, then what happens, right? So focus on your most critical experience data clouds, which we know them as domains. And that's your product, that's your supplier, location, and your customer. And create that repeatable and trustworthy process around them. And don't be afraid to crawl right before you run. Sometimes we get into the motion of, I got to get it done quicker. And then you kind of end up missing some of the beats. And in between now, it's like you've got to go back and rework. Just think of it as a well-defined pilot in one category alone. It'll be the flashy AI tool that just doesn't stick anyway, any day. It's more being able to recognize what it is you need and how to get there, and utilizing the tools that will allow you to do that. And those tools would be any of the, like your product experience data cloud or your customer, supplier, and location collectively will deliver a successful AI journey for you.
That's awesome. Those are again great points. Well, Anya, I just have a couple more questions for you, and because I want to ask you because I was again on a podcast, marketing retail focused podcast earlier last week, and we were talking about this mindset shift and how it's going to be so important going forward to kind of take action here. And if there's one mindset shift that you wish every retail leader would probably make this year, would love to know, and I'm sure our audience would too.
If I had a magic wand, Connor, it just poof, and it would all be done. But I wish more leaders would stop chasing perfect and start chasing progress, right? You have to take steps to get to that successful endpoint. And if you're constantly looking for the first time it's got to be perfect, it's not going to happen, right? Forget that 5-year roadmap. The real growth happens in the grind of your weekly execution. What are we doing consistently? What are we doing regularly, right? And that kind of sets the stage for that true growth. Build a culture that rewards curiosity. right? That encourages the collaboration between your IT team and the business. And just celebrate cleaning your data as much as launching a new campaign. Because honestly, Connor, clean data is your campaign, right? It's the one running behind every successful campaign that you've ever had.
It's great advice. And one of the reasons why I think we love having you on, it's because of just the wisdom and the knowledge that you have, Anya. And I know you have so much experience working with some of the best brands and transforming how retailers manage their data and products. As we're now halfway through the year, I want to ask you one final question because you've worked with legacy brands and
Mhm.
digital natives. That's why it's such an interesting time to have these conversations. Really curious about what's one lesson that they could learn from each other as we head into the second half of this year.
That's a really good question. Legacy brands need to steal some of that fearless experimentation from digital natives, right? Stop waiting until the next fiscal year to test something new. Even if it just, it starts small, you have to start somewhere. And digital natives learn from the operational rigor of those legacy brands. Speed is great, kind of, but without process, speed, it just you end up with burnout and total disarray, right? But when those two worlds come together, you end up with discipline and daring, right? That's when retail for that organization gets excited because now they can clearly see that there's a change. There's a change, improvement in the process. You've got the camaraderie around the team. You've got efficiencies. You're eliminating all of the Excel spreadsheets and all of the manual processes. You think that because of this legacy system, or brands that you had can no longer, operate at the level that the industry is operating in, right? Scalable innovation, like the trends, the things that, I mean, AI alone. You've got legacy systems, band-aids, I call it patchwork, right? But then when somebody leaves, that's made that quilt. Now all these patches, you're still, you're just tacking on top of it. So it just becomes impossible to manage and maintain. But again, discipline and daring, just get excited about it. Be okay with the change. And I know that, change management is a whole different topic. However, be that champion, be that voice, be, courageous to say, these are things that we know we need to change. Where do we begin?
Anya Dillard, retail practice lead over at Stevo Systems. Thank you so much for joining the podcast again. It was such a pleasure, Anya, as always, and helping us explore, why now is the time to rethink business operations, data compliance, AI, and how AI can also drive smarter conversions. These are topics that retailers are top of mind, within their organizations, and always coming on right when the time is right to be talking, about these key topics. So, as I said last time, I'll say it again. You jump on another podcast. I think we have to do this at least once a summer. It looks like,
For
but
sure.
would love to have you on more as well, Anya. So, looking
Thank
forward to
you.
that.
Thank you, Connor. It's exciting. It's always great to have someone like you with the voice that you have. I mean, and it's not about IT, right? It's the whole techie world. You think that software is all about the tech, but it's really what's driving the business, and that's what retailers need to hear and know.
Thanks again, Anya. Take care.
All right, back at you.